right now on Justice.
She was a disaster, totally unfit for this job.
The eyes of a nation trained on what will be the showdown of a century.
You don't hear a plan from him. He keeps saying he has a secret plan. Well, the secret is he has no plan.
Tonight, we preview what could be the most watched presidential debate ever. I'll ask Dr. Ben Carson what it was like to debate Donald Trump. And I'll talk to a man who ran one of the most successful presidential campaigns ever. Plus, speaking of fights, I'll talk live with boxing legend and Trump supporter Don King. And I may give him some pointers in the ring.
I'm at Modell Sporting Goods, and I am practicing because I think it's important that any commander-in-chief needs to be in great physical shape.
Just how important is a president's health and stamina? I get physical to find out. It's tonight's Street Justice.
To be commander-in-chief, you have to be able to lift the big ones.
Justice starts now.
Breaking tonight, less than 48 hours until the one-on-one matchup America's been waiting for. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. A preview of the first presidential debate throughout the hour, but first, my opening statement. 48 hours from what will be one of the biggest television events in history. The first presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Right now, the race is neck and neck. It may even be a photo finish, so the pressure is on. My advice to the candidates. Donald, it's real simple. You're new at this, but if you are yourself, you will obliterate her like you did those 16 others on those Republican primary debate stages. Now, your opponent cannot handle the truth. She can't handle a direct question, nor is she able to give a direct response. Do not let her do the Washington two-step. Stay on offense without being offensive. And do not let the fact that she's a female stop you from going after her. She wants to be the leader of the free world. Gender is irrelevant. Make her prove that she's up to it, both mentally, physically, and historically. Make her tell the truth. If the moderator lets her interrupt you, you do the same. If she misrepresents the facts, which she is sure to do, interrupt her and hold her feet to the fire. Make her outline what exactly she's done for us and our pocketbooks, as opposed to hers. And how is it that she's worth hundreds of millions of dollars without a business, a product, or even a website? What case can she make for herself? And what has she done for the American people in the last 30 years? Now, Donald, we don't expect you to know everything. You're not a politician. And that's what we like about you. We honestly don't give a damn if you don't know who the Prime Minister of Uzbekistan is. Neither do we. And that's not what brought us here tonight. It's your ideas, it's your beliefs, it's your passion, it's the nationalism, it's the American dream that you make us believe is possible for us again. It's we Americans who you remind us are the ones who need to be the dreamers. Now, you're a smart man, Donald. This is the time to be presidential. No smirks, no faces. Be the man that I've known for decades, the one who's always working, who never gives up, who loves the American worker, is kind to whomever approaches him, who walks down the street long before he ran for office, willing to shake the hands of a hard hat, a police officer, or a simple tourist. The man who raised 3 of the most incredible adult children that I have ever had the privilege to watch grow. And to you, Hillary. Now, I know you're practicing in front of that mirror with your note cards, asking, mirror, mirror on the wall, which Hillary will be the most delectable of them all? I have an idea, Hillary. How about you be yourself? Cold, calculating, imperialistic, willing to lie, willing to rope off the press so you don't have to answer their questions. How dare they demand answers from a woman of your stature? And while you're at it, maybe you can explain calling millions of Americans who want only to be safe and provide for their families deplorables. That's right, deplorables. While you came to be a Department of Justice and an FBI untouchable. And Hillary, don't shy away from talking about your record, the state of the world in chaos with you in charge of foreign policy, unless, of course, you don't want to. And I wouldn't blame you. Maybe you can say you just short-circuited, or that brain clot has obliterated that memory, too. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. So, what can we all expect on Monday night? Could we see a moment as memorable as this one?
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
That was 73-year-old Ronald Reagan running for re-election as the oldest president in American history in 1984. The joke Reagan used to address critics about his age that night went down as one of the most famous moments in presidential debate history and reminded Americans what they loved about their president. My next guest is actually the man who ran that historic campaign, a man who knows a thing or two about presidential debates, veteran Republican strategist, chairman of the Great American PAC, a Trump super PAC, and Fox News political analyst, Ed Rollins. Ed, I got to tell you, that is one of the most infamous, memorable lines in politics.
Well, Ronald Reagan had a great core of beliefs, and he also had a great ability to deliver lines, and he kind of in his head always practiced lines. He used to write things down. He was a writer. You know, he basically was a better speechwriter than most of the speechwriters, and someone like Peggy Noonan, who we both know, will tell you that everything he touched, he made better. The key thing here, I think, is historically presidents don't do well in the debates because no one speaks harshly to them. They're sort of set on a pedestal. So he stumbled the first debate. He came back the second debate that had that memorable line and basically knocked it out of the ballpark and won a great re-election.
You know what's interesting about this? From the beginning, there were those, including myself, who likened Donald Trump to Ronald Reagan. I mean, there's a certain charisma to them. There is also this certain television prowess that each of them has, the control of the stage, the camera. She doesn't have that.
Well, she not only doesn't have that. I mean, I think if you gave a great opening there, and obviously that much of that would be perfect for him to give. The thing that I think he has to do is not worry about her. This is about him. He had 14 years on television. He was a big superstar on television. It wasn't the celebrities, it wasn't the apprentices. It was him. Every week, a majority of Americans who watch television, or at least the most Americans, turned on his show, his #1 show for a long time. So he can stand on that stage and basically talk about why he wants to lead this country. What I would argue is that I've worked for 3 presidents. I've worked in 2 White Houses. A president makes decisions. Every single day, a president has 3 or 4 decisions he has to make, and they're in conflict. Transportation wants something, state wants something else. So all the options there's no easy answers. So a president every day has to sit there and make 3 or 4 very tough decisions. So a lot of work goes into it. A lot of arguments take place. He can make decisions. He's lived in an environment in which he's made decisions, tough decisions, for 30 years.
I don't think anyone really has a question about that. What I am wondering is how you handle a woman who will talk nonstop, who will filibuster, who will interrupt you. We saw that with the Bernie Sanders debates, and who doesn't answer a question.
You just move on. You do your own story. And what I would say about after saying how I can make decisions, she can't. Let's look at the decisions that she made. She talked in her campaign last time about the red phone. Who do you want to answer the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone did ring. It was Benghazi. And it was our American ambassador and our people who wanted to be rescued. She did make the right decision there. She did make the right decision in Syria or Lebanon. down and what have you. So, like her husband also was a terrible decision maker. You read any book of the Post, charming man, great campaigner, much better campaigner than she is, but at the end of the day, was not a decision maker.
All right. Now, 6 weeks ago, Hillary was ahead. Now they are neck and neck.
Absolutely.
And the swing states are getting even crazier right now. Does she dance or does she attack him?
Oh, I think she attacks him. I think she's wanted this game. She's a substantive woman, and she basically has a lot of policy thought. And you know, she'd be a good policy wonk to have on a staff committee somewhere, but she's not a leader. And
so what does she do? Keep calling him names?
Well, I don't think names will be so much as much the substance, or she'll try and pinpoint things that he said or not said and try and make cases out of that. And he just needs to brush it aside and keep moving forward. He needs to know what he's going to say, and he's going to have confidence and not get dragged into her argument. What's happened in the difference in the campaign is right after the convention, for a couple months, Trump stumbled.
3
and
weeks.
it was about him. Now it's about her, and you got to keep it about her.
And what should his tone be? Should it be sincere? Should it be indignation?
There's a word that we always use. You need to be presidential, and presidents don't yell and scream at other people, at least not in public. He basically, like you have very great confidence, and he does have confidence, and he needs to project that confidence.
And for her, from her perspective, she needs to show that he's unfit. How is she going to try to get under her skin?
Well, she's going to do exactly that. I mean, this stupid thing on the bringing Mark Cuban to the debate. I mean, you made it into World Federated Wrestling. It's and they've countered with the Jennifer Flowers.
Did you see she tweeted she's ready?
Right,
she's going to show up.
Right. You know, at the end of the day, this doesn't need to be a clown act. This needs to be a very serious debate, and there's two very serious people on the stage. And if you have 80 million is the most who's ever watched it. That was the first Carter 1980 Carter-Reagan debate. I think this will be 90, maybe even 100, which would be gigantic. Probably 10 million people are going to switch their vote or make a vote in this election. That's the difference. So historically, people say debates don't matter. This one matters.
Because it is so close, and that middle ground matters.
It is so close, and there's a lot of people have not made up their mind, and the sale has not been made by either candidate. So this is the chance to make the sale.
All right, Ed Rollins, it's really an honor to have you here on this subject tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right. And earlier, I spoke with former GOP presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson about the first presidential debate. Take a look. Dr. Carson, thanks so much for being with us. Now, you know better than anyone what it's like to be on that debate stage with Donald J. Trump. And Monday night will be probably the most watched political event in history. So, as a man who was on that stage with Trump, what's it like?
Actually, it's fun. It's fun being on the stage with him because he's entertaining, and you never quite know what's going to come out of his mouth. But what you do know is that what he says is what he believes. And I think that's probably one of the most refreshing things about him. You know, he does not talk about stuff that people say, you got to say this if he doesn't believe in it.
And, you know, before the debate, let me ask you this. Before the debate, when all of you were together, I mean, did you chit-chat among yourselves? Or, you know, was it war and you're my enemy and I'm going to go out and destroy you?
No, everybody was extremely cordial and friendly with each other when we were off stage. There was no question about that.
Do you expect that that's the case, that'll be the case with Hillary and Donald?
No, I don't think so, because things have changed. And, you know, he remembers, you know, people who are nice to him, people who are not nice to him, and really doesn't do a lot of pretending on that stage.
What do you expect to see from Donald in that first debate?
I think he's going to be laser focused on the issues. He is extraordinarily cognizant of the fact that there's going to be an attempt to irritate him, to get under his skin, and to get him off track. Because if they can make it about Donald Trump versus the issues, which they don't have a chance when it comes to the issues, that's what they're going to do. He knows that. Everybody's told him that. But also, he is a smart individual. And he's able to figure that out for himself. He knows what they're trying to do.
Well, you know, you mentioned it yourself. I mean, with Donald Trump, it certainly was entertaining, and he beat out 16 other candidates based on the fact that he knows television, he's entertaining, and he was likable. I mean, people liked him and people related to him. But Hillary Clinton, it seems to me, is going to be someone who will, you know, try to make herself the more knowledgeable person and try, I'm sure, to, you know, kind of make him, you know, not know the name of a country or a prime minister or something like that. And there's no question that he is not as well versed in some names and issues the way she is. How is he going to handle that?
Well, you know, he'll simply say, you know, I know that you've been Secretary of State. I know you've been a United States Senator. I know you've been the First Lady, and are familiar with a lot of the details that people who have not had those positions would not have. But bear in mind, I have access to some of the most brilliant people on the face of the earth, and they're willing to work diligently to help make America great again.
So,
that's all he has to say.
I mean, you know, he knows. And the fact is that he is out talking to tens of thousands of people while she's on lockdown for the day, in the days before the debate. So, I mean, I know that what candidates do is they go in and they study their cards and they look in the mirror and they practice, you know, how they're going to answer, how they look, how, you know, when they're going to hit the zinger, what works and what doesn't work. Does Hillary really know what's coming at her with Donald Trump? Does anyone know?
Hillary doesn't know, that's for sure, because you know, he's not going to be your traditional candidate in the sense of the moderator may say something and want to move on. He'll say, excuse me, I don't think we're quite finished with this yet, because the question has not been answered. And she's not used to that. So it'll be very interesting to see how she reacts to that.
You know, there are a lot of people, Doctor, who are talking about the difference in the sexes of male, female. Do you think that people are that sensitive to it, or do you think that people will look beyond that, given that they're looking for a powerful person in the commander-in-chief, irrespective of the gender?
I think a lot of people will look at the gender thing. To them, it's a big deal. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people, and particularly women, do not find Hillary Clinton to be an attractive candidate just because she's a woman. They look at things much more important than that, like the well-being of the country, about the future of their children. Donald Trump, over the years, has dealt, you know, multiple times with women at every level. And bear in mind, when it wasn't popular to have women in executive positions, he was pushing that. You know, he has been on the forefront in so many of these areas. I wish people knew. You know, look at the tape of Jesse Jackson several years ago, praising him for the incredible impact that he's had on the African-American community in terms of jobs. You know, these are things you just don't get a chance to hear about.
All right. Well, this is a debate we'll be looking forward to. Dr. Ben Carson, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Always a pleasure, Judge.
Thank you. Still ahead tonight, I'll talk a little Donald Trump with boxing promoter Don King. And if you think he's tough, check this out. To run for office, you have to be able to take a beating. You also have to be able to give a beating. Then I hit the gym for street justice to ask Americans just how important a candidate's health and physical fitness really is. Let's pump some iron as justice rolls on.
Do you think either of the candidates are really in good physical shape?
No.
Why do you say that? Their doctors say they're in good physical shape.
They're old.